Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I'm Danielle and I'm the owner of Damn Fancy Creations and the Drunk Flamingo. Today we're going to be using another pattern from August Flockbox as well as two decals. I just love this little fairy and this little hedgehog, and I think this tumbler just screams fall with all of the kind of burnt orange and red colors with the mushroom vinyl. And this is a fairly simple tutorial, so if you guys are new to making tumblers, this should be something that you can easily recreate. Everything you see here will be covered in today's tutorial, but don't forget to check the description where I list all items needed to recreate this tumbler, as well as discount codes from my favorite suppliers. Before we get started, make sure you hit that notification bell and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any upcoming tutorials. Alright y'all, let's get started. Alright y'all, so here is the pattern we're going to be using today, and we're using a 22-ounce fatty from Hogg. So we're going to start with cutting the white edges off of our vinyl. I started using my scissors, but then just decided that was taking too long and took this to my paper cutter. So once you have your edges clean and no white on the edges, we're going to wrap this vinyl around our tumbler, and we're going to mark the height and the circumference. So I'm just going to lay my cup down on the backing of the vinyl and mark the height with a Sharpie. Then I'm going to wrap that vinyl around the cup, and then the other line is going to be the circumference. So about right there. So we are going to go cut this out with our paper cutter. So now we have our little pieces. So I'm going to use my cup cradle by Cami Page Boutique, and I'm going to draw a straight line down our tumbler. So this way, when we apply our vinyl, we can use that straight line that we just drew to help match up the vinyl correctly. So I'm going to peel this back a little bit, cut off some of the backing. So we're going to use this vinyl like a hinge. And we're going to wrap this around. This is not as straight as I wanted it, so we're going to just adjust it a little bit. And that is pretty even. So we're going to next take our little vinyl squeegee, and we're just going to smooth down that vinyl as that backing is removed. So part of this vinyl is going to be covered up with glitter, so I'm not worried about the seam matching up perfectly. If we were doing a full vinyl wrap and nothing else, I would have made sure that those seams are matched up a little bit better. So we're going to use our heat gun, make sure everything is adhered well. I am also folding over the vinyl that is at the top so that when we edge the top and bottom rims, we get a nice clean cut. I'm doing the same thing with the bottom, just folding that vinyl over a little bit. So now we're going to take our edging tools. I have two. I have one, this is their regular edging tool, and then the pink one is the low profile that is specifically designed for mugs or tumblers with handles, but I always keep them on different settings. So for the top edge, I keep my blade in the first housing, and for the bottom rim, I keep the blade in the second housing. So it's just easier to have two so I can switch back and forth instead of adjusting the blade every time I need to cut the top or the bottom. So now that we have our edges rimmed and our vinyl on there good, we are going to apply our tape. Usually I use painter's tape, but I could not find it, so I've been using this masking tape, which I don't even know where it came from. Just one of those random supply items that I did not know that I had. And I am going to space this where one of the tape length is going to be the glitter, and then two, or not length, widths, I guess. So one tape width is going to be where the glitter is, and then the two tape widths is going to be vinyl. So I'm just applying my tape, and we're going to pull every third one. That's going to be our spacer, which is going to be where the vinyl is applied. So 1, 2, and then remove that spacer. And then apply that spacer right beside the other tape. And then 1, 2, and remove the spacer. So this is not quite as even. So I'm just going to move these over just a little bit. For those of you that like math and want your stuff super precise, you can definitely measure to see how your tape, how large your tape widths need to be or your spaces need to be. But yeah, I always just eyeball it. I'm not really super concerned with it. As long as it's close, I'm good. So once we have our tape on there, I'm just making sure everything is smoothed down as well as it can be. And then I took this outside and we just spray painted it with a smoky beige. It looks a little white. It's a little bit darker in person, but I just wanted a creamy color underneath the vinyl, or sorry, underneath the glitter. So if any spots showed through, it wasn't like a bright white. So we are going to apply our glitter with UV resin today. Most of the time I use a glitter glue. Today I just use UV resin. I just like to show you guys different ways how to do things. And I only use UV resin to apply some glitters. If it's an ultra fine glitter, I will use it. Or if it is a translucent glitter, I will use it. If I'm using a chunky glitter, I tend not to use UV resin because that light needs to be able to kind of penetrate those flakes, the glitter grains. And if you have big chunky pieces of that film, that light is not going to be able to get underneath it or beside it really to cure that resin. So just be mindful of the type of glitter you are using for this method. So I'm going to go ahead and peel off all of this tape once I have my UV resin on, and I only applied the UV resin just on the spray painted part where the glitter is going to go. So I'm just peeling that tape off right now and throwing it in the trash can. And it is clearly taking longer than I thought that it was. So now I'm going to get my glitter colors and my little tea strainer that I have used for years. And I'm just going to start by sprinkling the first color on the top. And you guys can kind of see I am angling my tumbler down just a little bit, and then I kind of angle it more and let that glitter fall down the tumbler. And I know one of these colors is cinnamon maple whiskey sour. I can't remember off the top of my head the other one, but I will link it in the comments for you. I think it's pumpkin apple shandy or something. I don't know. I can't remember. But these are previously my colors, which they can now be found on Cami Page Boutique's website. But these are some of my favorite colors for fall. So for the second color, I'm just going in and barely kind of tapping my tea strainer up the tumbler. And you guys can also see here that it is angled. And I'm just doing this twice. So any of that glitter is kind of getting soaked up in that UV resin. So I'm going to cure this with my UV light, and then I'm going to put 2 coats of epoxy on top of this. So once that epoxy is cured, we are going to go in and add our pinstripes and our decals. So really the only difference is with the UV resin, you have to cure it, and with glitter glue, you just let it dry. So now we're just taking some gold chrome pinstripes, and we're just lining this right where that vinyl meets the glitter. I just thought this gold went well with the glitter because both of these colors kind of have a gold shift to them. And I also just think kind of orange, reds, and golds are just representative of fall. And if you guys did not know, I do have a pinstripe file on the drunkflamingo.com, which has my most popular sizes I use, which are 0.07, 0.05, and 0.03. And when I cut out pinstripes, I like to print full sheets of each color in different sizes. That way I can layer them if I want, or I just have different size options to choose from. And I also use the spaces in between the pinstripes. As you can see here, I have little pinstripes left from the ones that I previously used. So that way you're not wasting vinyl, you actually use the full 12 by 12 sheet. Isn't that gradient so pretty? I just love that orangey that fades into that kind of like reddish orange. It's so pretty. I don't know if y'all can hear, but Birdie is like digging around in our little rock patio behind our porch. I don't know what she's doing. Probably chasing lizards. She is like breathing heavy. Birdie! Her whole nose is in the rocks. Hold on. Okay, now that that is settled, back to the tumbler. So once we have all of our pinstripes on, we are going to go add our little decals. Sometimes I will apply a layer of epoxy and then apply my decals, but these pinstripes are pretty thin. So I went ahead and just applied the decals right over them. Sometimes if you layer your pinstripes, like if you had one on top of the other, you may be able to see that under decals or other vinyl that you're applying to your tumbler. So I am just kind of deciding where I'm going to place these little guys. So I'm just going to use my transfer tape. Some of my decals, if they are a little bit more simpler, I just peel them off and slap them on the tumbler. But this one has lots of little kind of parts sticking out like mushrooms or little leaves. So I just want to make sure that none of those would get wrinkled. So I am just applying my little decals where the strip of glitter is kind of in between the decal, and I did hang them off a little bit, and I'm going to go and clean up that edge. I just wanted to kind of set them a little below the edge of the tumbler so it didn't look like they were just floating there. I wanted to look like the tree stump was actually sitting on the ground versus just floating in space, I guess, if that makes sense. It makes sense in my head. I don't know if it makes sense in y'all's heads. So we're just going to take our edging tool again, and we're just trimming the bottom of these little decals so it looks like they're sitting on ground. So I'm just using my heat gun here just to adhere the decals better. And I'm also doing the same thing to the pinstripes. Sometimes I use UV resin to hold down the edges of my pinstripes. Sometimes I just use my heat gun. It really just depends on the type of vinyl that I'm using. If it's more prone to lifting, then I'll typically seal with UV resin. And I flipped my cup upside down and did the same thing, just using some heat to get those pinstripes to adhere a little bit better to my tumbler. And once I think that those pinstripes are down as well as they're going to be, I'm going to take this outside and put 2 more layers of epoxy on this cup. Anytime I have pinstripes, decals, any type of vinyl, I like to apply 2 coats of epoxy just to ensure that everything is sealed in well. So here are some finished pictures of her all shiny and complete. I just love how this cup turned out. It almost looks like a fall sunset with the kind of burnt orange fading into the reddish color. But I think it turned out so cute. If you guys use this vinyl or any of these decals, make sure to post them in the Drunk Flamingo so I can see what you guys came up with. I love to see what stuff inspires you guys and what you guys come up with. All right, y'all, thanks for watching. If y'all enjoyed this tutorial or learned something new, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Don't forget to catch the next video coming up that was picked just for you. As always, if you're looking for more tips, tricks, or tutorials, be sure to check out my tutorial group on Facebook or my Drunk Flamingo group. Thanks for watching.